For folks that are watching, how can they get a hold of you? And, like I said before, you did mention that you're working mostly with lawyers, but also other law adjacent sort of services. What's the best way to contact you?
So it is via email. You can also give me a call. Website is currently under construction, so we're getting there on that.
We're making sure that it's very much fitting all the
Exactly.
infrastructure and
It's
IT related security
it,
stuff.
it honestly. So that's one thing that's just taking a little longer because I'd rather be out there supporting the clients than focusing on the little aspects of the website. But it's almost done, so it'll be launching very soon. So I'm quite happy with that.
All right, here we go. Another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, Fadi Kuder, local realtor with Sun Group Ottawa. And today we are joined with Santana Stolberg from Legal Tech Consulting Incorporated. Tell me a little bit more about like the different avenues of law that you assist with and which one is your favorite?
So I do love e-discovery. It's absolutely my passion. I love being the person that's getting to review the documents and figuring out what fits into the legal issues at hand.
I certainly do not want to see your Netflix playlist.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So I do enjoy that. I love also just being able to support and see it all come together. So that's huge. E-discovery is more and more common now because paper documents are disappearing.
It's just, becoming more and more obsolete.
Exactly. So it's great that I get to use some of the tech experience that I have to find faster ways to do e-discovery. I mean, I've worked on a couple of cases that were millions of documents and I got it done in 3.5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I like taking my e-discovery experience and also putting it into ATIP requests. So it's access to personal information. So I've worked on a couple of cases there where, as I said, it was an ATIP request and I got to use the software. So for example, ringtail relativity and just being able to utilize it to get the job done faster, produce the information that's needed, redact the information that's not. It's all in one system. So that's very interesting. I like that aspect. I do document preparation. So it's everything from preparing statements of claim, statements of defenses, memos, kind of your typical boring documents that most people don't like doing.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. I like kind of putting together the information, reviewing the documents. I've done social media investigations for some law firms where it's really finding out information for particular cases and kind of gathering that all together.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That is interesting. I like doing that. It's interesting kind of growing up in the generation that I did. Social media was kind of just coming out and now it's everywhere. But when you have lawyers who necessarily don't kind of...
Well, a lot of lawyers actually don't use it.
Exactly.
They don't use it because of personal,
Yep.
they just don't want to be out there. They don't necessarily want to have, especially if you're like a litigation lawyer
Yep.
dealing with criminal law and stuff like that.
Yep.
You might want to veer away from it because it's a lot more public.
Yep.
So I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Then again, when you don't use it, you don't have experience in it that much. And especially when it comes to details like what you're talking about.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to be able to support it.
Exactly. So it makes it easier for me to be like, okay, what are we looking for? I can go do this. I have experience with the tech. So that's fun. The information security consulting is different. It's definitely a different aspect that I support. I support law firms in setting up information security. So nowadays, I mean, data breaches are huge. Privacy is
massive,
extremely important.
Massive. Yeah. Especially like, I'll give you an example. When I was working in software, we had one company that lost, like, not necessarily the company that I was working with, but like one of the companies that we will know in, actually, it's a credit company.
Okay, yep.
They have lost a massive amount of data breach in like one night within about 2 hours.
Yep.
That could completely eclipse the company.
Like, absolutely.
Take it offline completely. And then now you're not able to support your clients. Not only that, but you just let them down. Their data's out there. Somebody's is out there. And it's costing you a ton of money because now you got to go and give them great protection for everyone out there.
Exactly. So it's very interesting. And I can do it anywhere from like, I've worked with law firms to set up full certifications. So ISO 27001 certifications. A lot of law firms are moving to getting that. They are larger to medium law firms that are pushing for the certifications just to kind of be up to date and be competitive in the market.
So let's take up one pause for a second. How many certifications do you have? Because I do recall from our networking event a while back, we were talking about certification, and I was like, I think you've sped out at least 4 or 5.
Yes. So I have my undergraduate degree. I have my master's degree. I have an e-discovery certification. I have workplace investigation certification. I have authorized court transcriptionist certification. And I also have been a lead auditor for ISO 27001 certification as well. Yes.
And like each certification obviously is different in terms of the length of time that it requires and all of that. If you were to put it all in like a number, what would that be? Like how many years for you to get those certifications?
I mean, it depends. The certifications, depending on what you're doing, can be longer. Depends how long you take. If you're doing it part-time, if you're doing it full-time. I learn things very quickly. And so I've been lucky. Like I said, I did condense my 2 years master's degree into 1 year.
I bet. I mean, like you're extremely detail oriented. So like I don't put it past you for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like if we're looking at regular timelines, anywhere from 3 to 4 years to get the certifications and the degrees that I have. But these things are all things you can do in your spare time. Like it's not something that's so far-fetched or that takes so much time that you're like, oh, this is so much work.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It does, but I guess it just depends on what you really want to do and how you want to use your time. I decided very early on that I didn't want to work for somebody else. And so, I mean, the certifications was what I had to do to be able to get to where I want to be.
Yeah. And then the cool thing about it is like it does open a lot of avenues for you, especially for what you do. You know, like, hey, this special case, for example, we really want you to focus on the e-discovery. Well, if you don't have it, you're not going to be able to do anything with it.
Exactly. And like I said, most of the certifications actually intertwine with what I'm already providing as services. And then, I mean, to grow the services, you know very well is when you're a business person, you want to continue to grow. You want to adapt based on what's kind of currently going on in the world. So I said, okay, I have these certifications. For example, the workplace investigator certification. Noticed it was a need.
You know, one really cool thing, and I don't mean to diverse or take it off track here for a minute, but one cool thing that I've been sort of noticing with AI that could actually help in, folks that are looking at how can I improve my business is really just putting in a nice little quick prompt of, hey, what are the most important things that a lawyer requires in the next 2 or 3 years to learn?
Absolutely.
And stuff like this, all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, there's like so many things that I could learn that could potentially be the next big thing.
Yes, 100%. I mean, you're seeing that alone with just AI in the legal profession. Just the transition of using it to prepare documents. That's something we're seeing quite frequently. Again, you have to watch with anything that comes from tech. It's not perfect.
No, there's a lot of bugs. Like one of the biggest things is out working in software is like knowing that at the end of the day, it's buggy.
It is. Yep.
And the beauty about AI is like as buggy as it can be, it learns as it goes, and the bugs can get fixed with the human. It needs the human to fix it, obviously.
Yeah.
Overmade it, needs to fix it. But, you can figure those out as you go.
Yes, absolutely. But it's also being able to understand the software, the systems, using it appropriately. And a lot of people don't want to change.
Resistance to change is probably the biggest detriment to any business.
100%.
Because any business you're in, it doesn't matter. Like even if it's, you've been used to making it the same way for the last 50 years, you have to change at some point. Yeah. Unless you're looking at that sort of authentic experience of like, my mother's certain dish that she makes, that's a different story.
Yes.
But if you're talking about, but even that, still the customer service has changed over the years. Yep. The way we deliver business has changed over the years. So you have to adjust and adapt to it.
Yep. Look at online ordering, right? Mm-hmm. Like everything kind of changes. We grow, we learn new things with tech. But if you're not willing to understand the tech, then you're not going to utilize it appropriately.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, the whole online ordering and like the tech. The pandemic was a massive eye-opener for a lot of folks, like especially restaurants and places that could not get on that. Some of them, they're nowhere to be found, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I mean, just working from home is completely different. Mm-hmm. So people are struggling with that. But it's also, like I said, when I brought up the information security consulting, working from home has its own risks.
massive loophole.
Yep.
Massive loophole. It's so easy for me to set up a camera and start kind of spying on everything that's on my laptop. And that's, corporate related stuff. Like if
Yep.
I'm doing that, I'm breaching it, but you don't necessarily know that. You don't have access to see that.
100%. So there's different things that have come up with COVID that has now prompted law firms to, if they don't want to get the certification, 100%, that's fine. But setting up processes, procedures, policies for information security, I help with that as well. I do that. So it's not like full certifications, but it's just making sure that your firm and your business has the information security processes in place and the policies. And so when you hire somebody, they should be going through information security training.
Yeah.
They need to know what phishing is. They need to know how to protect
Totally.
their
And look, one of the
environment.
things, just to add to that sort of conversation you're having, like when we were selling software specifically to IT providers
Mhm.
that are providing lawyers or, for example, the healthcare or whatever, you had to have information security certification.
Yep.
Not only as an IT, but also making sure that you have it, but you're also giving it to them as well.
Absolutely.
Giving them the training, the need, the how, all of that stuff, and the courses that they need.
Mhm.
And that's how you deliver service. Same with, for example, like we were dealing with healthcare professionals. And if you didn't know, especially in the States, if you didn't know HIPAA, they won't even talk to you.
Exactly. Yep. It's very common. We're seeing a lot. I mean, just look at Quebec. They just introduced the privacy law. What is it? Almost 2 years ago, 3 years ago. That's completely changed in how business operate.
Yeah.
And it's not so far-fetched that it's not coming to Ontario. It is. I mean, they're working on it.
100%. Then like now we're just at the verge of having like quantum computing. That is just mind-boggling by itself.
Yep. A whole different ballgame. So, I mean, like, you need to understand the privacy laws. And so that's a whole different aspect related to information security. It's not just putting the information security policies, procedures, processes in place, but also making sure that they comply with, for example, PIPEDA. It's making sure that everything kind of aligns, and it's a lot. And it's great when you have, network engineers that are working on the inside. That's great, but they don't necessarily know how to do everything. So set it up.
If they do, they know sort of like the technical portion.
Exactly.
They don't necessarily know the legal portion of it, right?
100%.
Like, for example, like, oh yeah, like you can access this information, no problem. But if I'm working in that organization and I'm accessing somebody else's files
Mhm.
that I don't have I'm not privy to, that's an invasion right there.
100%.
As a lawyer's office, I can get completely sued over it. So, hey, Mr. Network Guy, you might need to tighten this up.
And that's introduced in things like ethical walls to prevent conflicts, etc. So it's not just, making sure you're not accessing other people's personal information, but in the legal profession, it's completely different, and there's way more, right? Because you might be blocked by an ethical wall. You might be conflicted out of looking at certain things. If they're not set up in the system, or if there's no policies and processes in place, you could be putting yourself at risk.
I'll give you an example, actually, with one of, just from past experience. We were working with a managed service provider, helping them out, figure out a situation that was going on. And what had happened is this managed service provider in the States was dealing with all of the government offices on the local level, on the, the state level, and then also on the federal level.
Yeah.
For this particular county, and they got hacked.
Yep.
And now their information is out there. All of those people's information is out there. They have access to everything from the land registry to. So imagine the lawsuit after lawsuit after the lawsuit that they had to wait and see, because it's coming.
Right. Yeah.
We were able to recover all of that information for them, get them everything all back. But like, just imagine if you'd already had that ahead of time, you wouldn't have to worry about any of that.
100%. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from, depending on how big your firm is, 3 to 6 months. Like, that's not a huge time commitment. And that's someone else, for example, me setting that up for you. It's meeting with certain people. It's like an hour meeting a couple times. It's not a lot of commitment to get it.
No, that's the thing. Prevention is always the best policy, right? Like if you're setting it up properly from the get-go, you wouldn't have to worry about it later on. It's already been taken care of and it's done. But the thing is also, like, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, it's not just a set it and forget it kind of deal.
100%. It's not.
This is something that you set up, The setup takes a little bit of time, but then once it's set up, it's just more of a management and keeping control and keeping sort of up to date with the rules and
Absolutely.
regulations and all of that.
Exactly. And management is 10 times easier, right? It's, for example, giving training annually to your employees.
Sending emails from the boss saying, I want like give me your credit card because I was locked out.
Yeah. So phishing tests.
Phishing tests are like nightmares.
Actually, honestly, yeah, it's pretty bad. I've worked doing information security for a lot of law firms, and phishing tests, a lot of employees fail. And it's crazy because these are all things that can be taught. You go through an annual information security training, you learn the tips and tricks on what to spot when you're looking at an email.
And that also needs to be documented. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you need to document it as a lawyer to have it in your HR file.
Yep.
Yeah, I've gone through all of them. They've all checked those things out, and it's good to go because if, for example, you do get breached and that happens, well, at least you've done your due diligence somewhat.
Exactly. And I mean, most businesses now require cyber insurance. Mm-hmm. And so you can't get it if you don't have the information security training. Yeah. So I work with a lot of firms to set this up, to get it done, to give them the process and policies, to help them kind of set up. And then if they want to do more management, I can do that with them as well.
It's amazing. And then like it's also like, for me, we don't see any of that work, right? It's all behind the scenes. Yeah. You're really only seeing the suits coming in and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and going to do this. And like, we're going to sue them for that. But like all the work behind the scenes that is just as important, if not the most important part, is the details. Mm-hmm. That's where you come in.
Exactly.
So for folks that are watching, how can they get a hold of you? And, like I said before, you did mention that you're working mostly with lawyers, but also other law adjacent sort of services. What's the best way to contact you?
So it is via email. You can also give me a call. Website is currently under construction, so we're getting there on that.
We're making sure that it's very much fitting all the
exactly
structure and IT-related security.
Honestly, so that's one thing that's just taking a little longer because I'd rather be out there supporting the clients than focusing on the little aspects of the website. But it's almost done, so it'll be launching very soon. So I'm quite happy with that.
So just one last question, and I think we can conclude on that, but like for you to make it worth it for all those lawyers out there, what's the ROI like?
So in terms of your return on investment, honestly, you're getting quicker turnaround times, you're getting cost-effective services, and you're getting time back with your family. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, that's the reality of it.
You can't put a dollar on that. I think that's the most important part. But I think the ROI is definitely there. Like you did mention the example, going from 5 files to 15 files, that's just significant.
Yep.
To me, that's a massive growth. That's like 3 times revenue.
Yep.
Sure, yeah, you're going to have a cost associated to it with the, eating some of the margins, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same as hiring a full-time employee. You're actually taking home more. Mm-hmm. You're taking home more. You're getting more time with your family. And you get support that is guaranteed.
And it doesn't matter if it's 1 file, 10 files on a regular basis. It's really...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It can be anything from a one-time, hey, I just need assistance with this, to everywhere as, hey, I want to work with you for 20 hours a week.
That's amazing. Like that. I feel like we can have a lot more in-depth conversation and it just goes on forever because it's something that I'm always sort of excited to kind of get to know what goes behind the scenes when it comes to law offices. And like we see things, but like what I see is like probably like a fraction of what really goes behind the scenes. But I really appreciate you coming in today and, sharing your experience and sharing your organization, what you guys do and all of that stuff. And for folks that are watching, if you like what you see, please don't forget to hit the like button. Very importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon. We've got so many more interviews coming with amazing people across the city. As you can see here, we've got Santana. So just don't forget, do that. And thanks again. Really appreciate it. Canada on the Rocks is where you want to kind of learn everything about business.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Santana.